Let's start with the south of El Oro province in Ecuador, where the city of Balsas suffered serious destruction from flooding. On April 2nd, heavy rains that lasted for more than 2 hours caused the local Santa Elena and San Roquito rivers to overflow. The water quickly overflowed its banks, and as a result, a powerful stream washed away the slums located in the lowlands of the city. According to the National Risk Management Service of Ecuador, about 40 people were injured, 10 houses were completely destroyed, and the local health center was flooded. Moreover, Balsas was left without electricity and drinking water, which significantly complicated the lives of local residents. Footage taken by eyewitnesses shows how the seething streams of water carry the debris of houses, and people are trying to save at least some of their property. The latest local news from El Universo reports that by April 7th, recovery efforts had begun in Balsas, with volunteers and soldiers helping to clear debris and aid agencies delivering drinking water and food to the city. However, local authorities have warned that the region remains at risk of further flooding due to continued rainfall, and residents have been advised to temporarily leave the areas in danger. It has also been reported that the flooding has not only affected the slums, but also agricultural land, destroying banana and cocoa crops, which could lead to higher prices for these products in Ecuador. The flooding has been a real tragedy for the poor areas of the city, reminding us how vulnerable such communities can be to natural disasters. Are you prepared for such situations? Perhaps it would be worthwhile to find out in advance where the nearest evacuation points are so that you are prepared. Now let's move to Brazil, to the city of Angra dos Reis in the state of Rio de Janeiro. On April 5th, a flood occurred here, which led to a very unusual picture. Due to heavy rains, local rivers burst their banks, and the water flooded pastures where cows were kept. The animals found themselves trapped and began to swim to escape the rising water. Videos taken by locals show how the cows desperately struggled with the current, trying to reach higher ground. Some of them managed to get out, but, unfortunately, not all animals managed to escape. Local farmers say that such floods in this area are happening more and more often, and this seriously threatens their farms. According to the latest information published on the G1 Globo portal, by April 7th, an animal rescue operation began in Angra dos Reis. Local authorities, together with volunteers, are using boats to evacuate cows and other animals from the flooded areas. It also became known that the flood affected more than 500 families, many of whom lost their homes. The governor of the state of Rio de Janeiro announced the allocation of emergency aid in the amount of 10 million reals to restore the region. But environmentalists warn that deforestation in the area only worsens the effects of the floods, as the soil loses its ability to absorb water. This story shows how the elements can affect not only people, but also animals, which are completely defenseless in the face of nature. What do you think? Maybe it is worth thinking about how we can help farmers protect their animals in such situations. Next, we will go to Greece, to the Agios Prodromos region on the Halkidiki Peninsula, near Thessaloniki. Here, on April 7th, there was an unexpected snowfall. Usually at this time of year in Greece, it is already warm. The trees are blooming, and people are preparing for the beach season. But this year, nature decided otherwise. Snow began to fall in the morning, and by midday, the entire area was covered with a white blanket. Footage taken by locals shows roads and homes buried in snow, while children happily build snowmen despite the cold. However, for adults, the snowfall has become a real problem. Some roads have been blocked, and in some homes, the power has been cut off due to strong winds. Meteorologists explain that such an abnormal snowfall is due to a sharp cold snap caused by a cold front from northern Europe. According to the Greek news portal Kathimerini, up to 20 centimeters of snow were recorded in Agios Prodromos by the evening of April 7th, which is a record figure for April in the last 30 years. Local authorities sent snow removal equipment to clear the roads, but due to strong winds, work had to be temporarily suspended. It also became known that in some villages in the region, the temperature dropped to -3 degrees Celsius, which raised concerns about the safety of orchards that had already begun to bloom. Now let's move on to Dyersburg, Tennessee, USA, where strong winds caused serious damage in April. Winds gusting to over 100 kilometers per hour raged through the city for several days, ripping roofs off houses, breaking trees, and tearing down power lines. Videos taken by locals show huge trees falling right onto parked cars and billboards being torn from their mountings like paper. Thousands of residents were left without power, and local authorities were forced to close several schools and evacuate people from the hardest hit areas. According to information published on the website of the local newspaper, the State Gazette, by April 7th, more than 50 cases of damage to houses had been recorded in Dyersburg, and about 10,000 people were left without power. The mayor of the city declared a state of emergency and asked for help from federal authorities to speed up the restoration work. It also became known that strong winds damaged a local hospital, where several windows were knocked out, but fortunately, none of the patients were injured. This wind was part of the unstable weather that swept the region in early April and showed how destructive such phenomena can be. Do you know how to protect your home from strong winds? Perhaps you should strengthen your roof in advance or remove anything that could fly away from the site? Next, we head to Almaty, Kazakhstan, where the city experienced its second powerful thunderstorm in 3 days in April. The first thunderstorm rumbled on March 7th, frightening residents with loud peals of thunder, and the second hit the city in early April. The sky over Almaty darkened, and soon a real downpour began, accompanied by bright flashes of lightning and deafening thunder. Videos taken by eyewitnesses show how lightning after another illuminated the night sky, and strong winds ripped branches from trees. The rain was so heavy that some streets of the city were flooded, and in some areas, electricity was cut off. Locals say that such thunderstorms are rare in April, and many were caught by surprise. According to the Kazakhstani portal Tengri News, by April 7th, more than 100 cases of trees falling due to strong winds were recorded in Almaty, and in one of the city's districts, lightning struck a transformer substation, leaving about 3,000 houses without power. Local authorities sent emergency crews to eliminate the consequences, but the work was complicated by the ongoing rain. Meteorologists also warn that new thunderstorms are possible in the region in the coming days, and residents are advised to avoid open spaces during bad weather. This thunderstorm was part of the unstable weather that has engulfed the region, reminding us that spring can be not only warm, but also very stormy. Are you ready for such whims of nature? If you hear thunder, do not forget to find shelter and stay away from open spaces. Now let's move on to Iceland, where a Fissure volcanic eruption occurred in April. Iceland is known for its volcanic activity, and this month nature once again reminded us of its power. A crack that formed on the slope of one of the volcanoes began to pour out hot lava, and a column of ash and smoke rose above the site of the eruption. The lava flows slowly moved downwards, destroying everything in their path, and the ash settled on nearby areas, creating problems for local residents and aviation. Fortunately, the eruption occurred in a sparsely populated area, and there were no casualties, but the authorities still evacuated several nearby villages. According to the Icelandic news portal RUV, the eruption occurred on the Reykjanes Peninsula, not far from the Fagradalsfjall volcano, which had already erupted in 2024. By April 7th, the crack had reached 3 kilometers in length, and the lava flows covered an area of more than 5 square kilometers. Scientists from the Icelandic Meteorological Office say the eruption could last for weeks and has already led to the temporary suspension of flights at Keflavik Airport due to ash in the atmosphere. Drone footage shows the bright red lava contrasting with the black volcanic landscape, creating a stunning yet frightening spectacle. The eruption is yet another reminder that Iceland is a country where nature reigns supreme. Would you like to see the eruption yourself? If so, remember that such phenomena are best viewed from a distance, following all government recommendations. The next incident occurred in Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. Here, on April 7th, the Ohio River burst its banks, causing massive flooding. After several days of heavy rains, the water level in the river began to rise rapidly, and by the morning of April 7th, it had flooded the coastal areas of the city. Eyewitness footage shows water flooding streets, parking lots, and even the first floors of buildings. Local authorities were forced to evacuate residents from low-lying areas, and rescue services worked around the clock to help those in trouble. The flood also damaged several bridges and roads, which created serious problems with transportation. According to the American news portal WLWT, by April 7th, the water level in the Ohio River reached a record 20 meters, which was the highest in the past 10 years. More than 3,000 people were evacuated, and the damage from the flood is estimated at millions of dollars. It also became known that the flood affected the local stadium, Great American Ballpark, where water flooded the lower stands, which forced the cancellation of several baseball games. Meteorologists explain that such floods are becoming more frequent due to climate change, which leads to more intense precipitation. This event became a real test for Cincinnati, reminding how important it is to be prepared for such natural disasters. Do you have a plan in case of a flood? Maybe you should prepare a supply of food and water in advance to be prepared for any situation. Now we will go to Nepal, to Mount Annapurna, where on April 7th, a huge avalanche descended from the top of Camp 2. Annapurna is one of the most dangerous peaks in the Himalayas, and on this day, nature showed its power again. A mass of snow and ice crashed down with a roar, sweeping away everything in its path. Fortunately, there were no climbers in the area when the avalanche occurred, but the camp used to prepare for the climb was completely destroyed. Footage taken from a safe distance shows a white cloud of snow rushing down the slope, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. According to Nepalese news outlet the Himalayan Times, the avalanche occurred after a sudden warm spell caused snow to melt on the upper slopes. By April 7th, Nepalese authorities had temporarily closed routes on Annapurna to avoid further casualties, and climbing expeditions were suspended until the end of the month. It was also reported that 3 similar incidents had already occurred on Annapurna this season, raising concerns among local guides who are calling for better avalanche monitoring. Local guides say such avalanches are not uncommon in April, but this year's was especially powerful, another reminder of how dangerous the mountains can be, even for experienced climbers. If you dream of conquering the peaks, do not forget to check the weather forecast and avalanche danger to return home safe and sound. Next, we move to Sydney, Australia, where on April 2nd, 2025, a powerful tidal wave hit Bronte Beach. That day, a storm was raging on the coast, and huge waves more than 5 meters high began to roll onto the shore. One of these waves, which was later called a tidal wave, hit the beach with incredible force, washing away everything in its path. Videos taken by eyewitnesses show how the water flooded coastal cafes, carried away sun loungers, and even knocked down people who did not have time to leave. Fortunately, serious casualties were avoided, but several people were injured, and local establishments suffered significant damage. According to the Australian news portal 9 News, by April 7, 2025, Sydney authorities began an investigation to find out why the storm warning system did not work in time. It also became known that the storm damaged part of the Bronte Beach embankment, and it will take several weeks to restore it. Meteorologists explain that such waves have become more frequent due to rising sea levels and stronger storms, which is linked to climate change. This event has become a real test for Sydney residents, reminding them that even a paradise beach can become a dangerous place. Do you know how to behave during a storm? If you hear a warning, do not take risks. Leave the beach and stay away from the water. Now let's head to the Philippines, where the Kanlaon volcano erupted on April 8th. The volcano, located on the island of Negros, suddenly came to life, throwing a 4,000-meter-high ash column into the sky. Footage taken from a safe distance shows a dark column of ash rising from the crater and hot pyroclastic flows, a mixture of hot gas, ash, and rocks, rapidly rolling down the slopes. The eruption was accompanied by loud explosions that could be heard for many kilometers. Authorities immediately evacuated thousands of people from nearby villages, and local airports temporarily suspended flights due to ash, which could damage aircraft engines. According to the Philippine news portal Philstar, by April 8th, more than 15,000 people had been evacuated from the risk zone, and ash covered an area of more than 100 square kilometers, including several cities. It also became known that the eruption caused small earthquakes in the region, which increased panic among local residents. Scientists from the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology warn that Kanlaon could continue to be active for weeks and urge residents not to return to dangerous areas. Fortunately, there were no casualties at the time of the eruption, but ash covered agricultural land, causing serious damage to local farmers. The eruption was one of the most powerful in recent years, a reminder of how dangerous volcanoes can be. Would you like to see one? If so, remember that safety comes first. Follow government recommendations and keep a safe distance. Back to Sydney, Australia, where residents witnessed an incredible phenomenon in April. On Saturday night, a bright meteor streaked across the city, lighting up the sky like a giant firework. The bolide, as such large meteors are called, burned up in the atmosphere, leaving behind a long, glowing trail. Footage taken by locals shows the night sky lighting up with a bright flash, with people on the streets excitedly filming the spectacle on their phones. According to Australian news portal ABC News, the meteor was spotted not only in Sydney, but also in other cities in New South Wales, and its brightness was -10 on the stellar magnitude, which made it one of the brightest fireballs in recent years. Scientists from the Australian National University confirmed that the meteor completely burned up in the atmosphere at an altitude of about 30 kilometers and did not pose a danger. However, this event caused a wave of interest among amateur astronomers who began to discuss whether the meteor could have been part of the Eta Aquarid meteor shower, which is usually active in May. For Sydney residents, it was a real cosmic show that they will remember for a long time. Such phenomena remind us how amazing our universe is, and how great it is to witness its wonders. Would you like to see a meteor? Don't forget to look up at the sky sometimes. You might be lucky enough to witness such a miracle. Now let's move to Crimea, Russia, where April has seen abnormally cold weather. Usually at this time of year, the peninsula is already warm, gardens are blooming, and people are enjoying the spring sun. But this year, nature decided otherwise. In early April, Crimea was covered by heavy snowfall, which was a real surprise for local residents. Videos taken by eyewitnesses show roads, households, and trees covered in a thick layer of snow, and cars struggling to get through the snowdrifts. In some areas, strong winds caused power outages and traffic jams. According to the Crimean news portal Kerch.fm, by April 7th, some areas of the peninsula had received up to 15 centimeters of snow, and the temperature dropped to -5 degrees Celsius. Local authorities sent snow removal equipment to clear the roads, but due to strong winds, the work had to be temporarily suspended. It also became known that the abnormal cold damaged blooming peach and apricot orchards, which could lead to significant losses for local farmers. Meteorologists explain that such cold is associated with the Arctic front, which brought unusually low temperatures to the peninsula. This snowfall has become a real test for Crimea, reminding that even in warm regions, winter can return at any moment. Are you ready for such vagaries of the weather? Maybe it is worth always keeping warm clothes and a supply of food at home in case of unforeseen situations. And finally, we will complete our selection with an unusual event from the world of technology. At the EXPO exhibition in Japan, Kawasaki presented a futuristic concept, a robot horse called Corleo. This is not just a robot, but a real work of engineering art that combines advanced technology and design inspired by nature. Corleo looks like a mechanical horse that can move across rough terrain, carry goods, and even help people in hard-to-reach places. At the exhibition, the robot horse demonstrated its agility, overcoming obstacles and moving with amazing grace. According to the Japanese technology portal Nikkei Asia, Corleo is equipped with artificial intelligence, which allows it to adapt to various conditions, and its battery provides up to 8 hours of autonomous operation. Kawasaki representatives said that Corleo can be used in rescue operations, agriculture, and even in tourism, allowing people to explore the wild corners of nature. It also became known that the company plans to launch a pilot project in the mountainous regions of Japan to test Corleo in real conditions as early as 2026. This event became a real sensation at EXPO, showing how technology can work in harmony with nature. What do you think about such inventions? Perhaps in the future, such robots will become our faithful assistants, helping to cope with the consequences of natural disasters. This is the selection we got today. From floods and volcanic eruptions to abnormal snowfalls, meteors, and futuristic technologies, our planet never ceases to amaze us with its power and diversity. If you liked this video, do not forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so as not to miss new releases. And in the comments, write which of these cases impressed you the most. Until next time, friends, and be careful, nature and technology can always surprise you.